Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, here with another awesome video. At least I hope it's awesome, but it's Caesar, so you can't help but be awesome, right? And so, yeah. And this time we're watching Battle of Dyrrhachium. I can't read. I am sorry for pronouncing that very wrong. But I just read this as I was putting the video together. Caesar against Pompey. Like, we're getting like the big battle here. We're getting like the general, the head boss, each macho man. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to like think of some cool like leader, things, but mine just went blank. So I'm sorry. But anyways, we got Caesar versus Pompey, and yeah. I mean, this is. I think I don't know. I'm not sure how. We only have like a few episodes left. I'm assuming Caesar is going to beat him. I'm assuming it because I don't know. I feel like if Caesar loses, it'll. This is what sucks about like knowing how many episodes are left. Is that I like being totally surprised, and I don't like to know what's going to happen next or anything. And the fact that I know there's only a few videos left, you just can't be if Caesar. I just have this thing. If Caesar loses, then it kind of sets him back, and then it's going to take longer to win the war. So I have a feeling Caesar's going to win this battle and kind of squeak by. I don't know if he's going to have a big decisive victory. I don't know. I'll find out anyway. But the previous video, we really didn't see much Caesar at all. And his comrade, was it Cicero? Not Cicero, or Creco. I forget his name. See, guys, that's how bad my memory is. But anyways, he was kicking butt at the beginning of last video. Like, he had them on the run. And then, like, for some reason, like, he's like just falling for like traps, like just like chasing after him. Like, how he chased after him seemed like forever, and got his army all tired out in the middle of nowhere. And then I don't know what the other guys' names are. It wasn't the it was the other. It was the Republic's allies. They kind of was the allies. I think so. And yeah, they basically slaughtered him. And then Caesar's general or leader, whatever his name is, he kind of like ran with a tail between his legs, jumped on the ships, and got the hell out of Dodge. I'm sorry about my language. But yeah, and which that was huge. That was completely huge because they needed the grain from from Africa and everything. They need that to feed their people. So that sucked, and so yeah, I'm sure if this video was from like the perspective of, or wasn't a Caesar video, it was like Pompey, directed video, I'd be rooting for him, but it's Caesar, and so you gotta root for whatever the video is about. Just like Napoleon, I was rooting for Napoleon throughout that series because it was about him. You kind of get caught up in the character, and so you kind of you're sure to feel a connection, kind of thing. I don't know. You guys know what I'm saying. So, but anyways, yeah, we're gonna continue this video. How is this gonna start, and where is this battle gonna take place? Well, I guess it's the Battle of Dyrrhachium. I don't know. I don't even know idea where that is. Sorry. It's gonna be somewhere in the Roman Empire, I'm assuming. I don't think Caesar's going to Greece. I just can't see it happening. So I think Pompey has to come to him because Caesar has Rome. So he's basically he's got to hold it down pretty much and just destroy Pompey and his men. So Pompey. Sorry. How many times are you gonna say sorry, Paul? Uh. Anyways, we're gonna get on with this video. Before we do, please hit that like and subscribe if you're new here. Yeah, if you're not new here and you haven't, you should do it anyway. And if you are, as your first video watching, you should definitely go back and start from the series because this is like the middle of the series, and you don't really want to start watching like a movie from the middle of a movie, or a TV series from the middle of a TV series. So you kind of want to start from the beginning. So yeah, we're gonna get into it. It's a 28-minute video, guys. Once again, I hope you guys are ready. We're sitting here for the long haul. But these 28-minute videos, or all these videos pretty much, they fly by. This 28 minutes is going to feel like 5 minutes. then it'll be longer than 20 minutes because then you're gonna have to deal with me stopping a couple of times. So, anyway, it's just yeah, I'm whatever. Oh shit! Sorry again. Right.
Gaius Julius Caesar and Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus were among the most successful generals in Roman history, who almost doubled the size of the Republic during their career. However, both of them were about to meet the toughest challenge of their lives. The Great Roman Civil War was reaching its peak, and the two leaders would fight against each other for the first time at Dyrrhachium. In our videos, we often explore how information was crucial, and this is true in the modern era as it was true back in the day. The sponsor of today's video is Backblaze, and they want to get a no-credit 15-day free trial and support our channel. Visit backblaze.com/kingsandgenerals or click the link in the description.
I just want to say, once again, Kings and Generals is an awesome channel. They have tons of videos that I haven't even touched yet, so you're guaranteed down the line for me to do a lot more Kings and General videos. Just a heads up, because when I like someone's content, I tend to kind of do a lot of other stuff. So, yeah. Anyways.
Description. So far, Caesar himself had been largely successful in the Civil War. His campaign in Spain had secured the West, as well as neutralizing some of Pompey's best legions, and he had been recruiting in Gaul and Italy, adding at least another 6 legions. However, his subordinates had not been as effective. Curio had lost 2 legions in North Africa, and his inability to take the province meant that supplies of grain in Rome would still be stretched. Around the same time, Gaius Antonius, the brother of Mark Antony, had lost 1.5 legions in Illyria to defection. To make matters worse, the veterans of the Gallic Wars, the 9th Legion in North Italy, had mutinied. Consular elections were due in Rome, and with both the consuls having fled with Pompey, there was no one to oversee them, threatening the legitimacy of Caesar's cause. His first priority was the 9th Legion, as many of his veteran legions were in a similar position. Rushing to their camp, Caesar made an impassioned speech, pointing out that as a general renowned for his quick action, he could not be blamed for prolonging the war. He then chastised the men, saying that he had brought them fame and fortune, and they now repaid him by mutineering. The only suitable punishment for the legion would be decimation. The legion begged Caesar to reconsider. Magnanimous as ever, Caesar only executed 12 of the ringleaders, bringing the legion back into the fold.
I mean, he has to, man. Like, this is if it's prolonging this, whole like war. I mean, he's got to keep his men together and just like morale, and and you got to execute. You got to make examples of, but you also got to like give the speech to get people to keep the people loving you. So, yeah.
Caesar needed to maintain an air of legitimacy, but with no consuls in Rome, the elections could not be held. Lepidus, a praetor and close ally of Caesar, suggested Caesar be named dictator so that he could preside over the election. Elections happened, and Caesar was appointed consul alongside another ally, Publius Servilius. With consular power, Caesar no longer needed the position of dictator, and resigned after just 11 days. With these issues now handled, Caesar gathered his force at Brundisium to finally confront Pompey. The latter was gathering a huge force from all corners of the Roman world in Thessalonica. In total, Pompey had around 60,000 men, 9 full legions, approximately 4,000 archers and slingers, 7,000 cavalry, plus some auxiliaries. There were a further 2 legions en route from Syria under the command of Metellus Scipio. Pompey had spent time drilling and equipping his men. However, only 4 of his legions were veterans. Cicero, who was with Pompey, described the bulk of the force as raw recruits. Mixed cultures and languages made organization difficult. Trusting in numbers, though, Pompey marched to the west of Greece.
So once again, this has nothing to do with this video. The fact that like different languages and like just different men from all over, it reminds me that like the worst battle in history, the video I did not too long ago, where there's so much confusion that they thought like they were on different sides, end up basically like killing each other, something like that. And I was like, oh God, are we gonna have another one of those here? I know we're not, but that's just what it reminded me of.
Difficult. Trusting in numbers, though, Pompey marched to the west of Greece, preparing to create a defensive line down the coast.
Oh, you mean Greece?
Caesar, in Brundisium, had gathered his 10 veteran legions, all under strength due to years of campaigning, and 2 newly recruited ones. However, he only had enough ships to move half his force across, and the Adriatic was being guarded by Pompey's vast navy, under the command of Bibulus. With the path through Illyria being too mountainous for rapid movement, Caesar would have to find a way of crossing the sea. However, he did have one key advantage. The Roman calendar drifted over time and needed to be constantly updated by the Pontifex Maximus. Caesar had not performed this duty due to his constant campaigning, but he nonetheless knew the true date. It was late autumn. Bibulus was operating under the impression that it was winter, and had therefore kept his ships in port, confident that Caesar would not attempt a winter crossing. Ordering his men to leave slaves and baggage behind, Caesar set sail with 7 of his veteran legions.
Wow,
By the time Bibulus found out, Caesar and his men had already landed. Frustrated, Bibulus began a blockade, capturing and burning 30 of Caesar's ships as they returned to Brundisium, and preventing the rest from transporting the remainder of Caesar's army. Soon after his landing, he was able to take both Oricum and Apollonia. Caesar then sent Fabulius Rufus, a man who Caesar had captured twice, once at Corfinium and once at Ilerda, to treat with Pompey. With his force divided, Caesar was possibly having second thoughts and was seeking a truce, offering the same terms as before. Nonetheless,
yeah, it's like the fact that he can't, you can't get supplies and everything, I guess, from Italy. It's being blockaded, man. I don't know, man. That starting off a little rough, but he got his forces over, and he's already outnumbered, and other forces he can't get there. So I don't know. It's starting off a little iffy. But this is Caesar we're talking about, so let's see what his plan is.
And was seeking a truce, offering the same terms as before. Nonetheless, Caesar continued marching his force towards Dyrrhachium, an important supply center for the Pompeians. However, Caesar overestimated Fabulius's loyalties. The latter met Pompey and informed him of Caesar's location, army composition, and strategy. Now the Senate's commander planned to exploit this. He could not allow Dyrrhachium to fall into Caesar's hands, and pushed his men on a forced march. Caesar still had 70 miles and 3 rivers to cross before reaching the city, and Pompey could still beat him there. The march took its toll on his more inexperienced men, with some of his Epirot allies deserting due to this push and their fear of Caesar, but he was ultimately successful, reaching Dyrrhachium first. Labienus's public speech swearing to follow Pompey at whatever cost restored morale, and the army encamped outside Dyrrhachium, forcing Caesar to stop his advance, withdrawing to a defensible position on the southern bank of the river Apsus.
Okay.
Pompey knew that Caesar...
Man, he just flew across, man. See how it's one of those things that you don't just from these maps, you can't really tell exactly what the landscape is, but I guess it's a road here is a lot faster, and he's I guess there's a lot tougher terrain right here. But I was like, how did he get there before him? I guess there's more rivers and stuff too. But and the guy, the freaking traitor from Caesar here, man, told everything about what he was doing and went to the other side. It's like, geez, dude, Caesar had to be mad. I would be mad. Not starting out the greatest for Caesar, that's for sure.
River Apsus. Pompey knew that Caesar had legitimacy as consul and could force his claim to be the rightful leader of Rome in peace, so he had to defeat Caesar in the field. he moved his army south, encamping on the opposite side of a river to Caesar. Once again though, Pompey proved indecisive. Caesar had just around 30,000 men, compared to Pompey's 60,000. But Pompey did not trust his less experienced men to be able to defeat Caesar's veterans in a strong defensive position. A standoff continued for weeks.
Hold on.
Caesar used off continued for weeks.
Are they like two different forces based on a different side of a river, just like staring each other down? I mean, that had to be pretty intimidating for like Pompey's guys, because they're inexperienced and they're staring down at these like, battle-ridden like soldiers who had been through it all and probably like look pretty badass looking. And then when the inexperienced ones are probably more like kids, like ones that that just got pulled up, and they're probably not as say manly, but they're probably just not as strong and not as as well built. So they're probably pretty intimidating to see across at Caesar's men. That's kind of, at least that's how the visual has it right here anyway. So Caesar likes his odds with his seasoned veterans, and probably even though he has twice the numbers, doesn't like his chances. But I was surprised. I guess he has to. So there's no legitimacy of Caesar's reign. He has to. I guess he had to follow him. So interesting.
As veterans in a strong defensive position, a standoff continued for weeks. Caesar used this time to his advantage. Bibulus's navy had to constantly come ashore to resupply. Caesar dispatched small raiding parties to attack these men whenever they came ashore, forcing Bibulus to go further and further afield to get supplies. Bibulus knew he could not abandon his position, but after weeks of harassment, his men were resorting to drinking the dew collected on leather awnings. In desperation, he tried to parley with Caesar, offering to send peace envoys on his behalf to Pompey if Caesar would stop. Caesar countered by saying that he would want to send his own envoys, and that if Bibulus wanted to resupply unmolested, he would have to allow Caesar's transports to pass. All these talks had done was reveal to Caesar how effective his strategy was. Soon after, old and now in increasingly poor health, Bibulus died, and that left the fleet leaderless.
What? Wow! Like, damn, talk about a turn of events. I mean, like they said, like it's giving Caesar information. Like, dang, my plan's working here. Like they're in dire straits out there, in the sea, and he's like, why should I? Why would I help him? Like, I'm good over here. I don't need, they're the one who need the supplies, not me. So he's just like, whatever you do, unless you give me what I want, I'm not going to help you out. And he denied him, and then he ends up dying. Wow, a leaderless army. And then, so who's going to take, up arms here? I mean, for all we know, like I said, Caesar's, they could turn over to Caesar's side for all we know, depending on who takes leadership and how desperate they are. I guess we'll find out. Wow, what a turn of events.
Bibulus died, and that left the fleet leaderless. Antony had tried numerous times to break out of the blockade, but had been stopped every time. The Pompeians had kept him under significant pressure, even taking a small island in the harbour to try and trap Antony even further. However, Antony was a talented lieutenant and had retaken the island and had kept his men on alert for any opportunity. It came in January 48 BC. Antony only had enough ships to transport the 3 remaining veteran legions and 1 newly recruited one. His ships were almost intercepted by Pompey's fleet, and he was forced to change route, landing at Nymphaeum. Both Pompey and Caesar's armies had to rush to Antony's position, Pompey to cut him off from Caesar, and Caesar to unite his forces. Pompey had a head start and a shorter route, Caesar having to march a considerable distance in order to be able to ford the river, and Pompey got to Antony's position first. He ordered his men to not light any fires and lie in wait to try and ambush Antony as he moved to meet Caesar. However, some locals sympathetic to the Caesarian cause alerted Antony, and he set up camp, sending a messenger to inform Caesar of his location. When Pompey found Antony encamped and Caesar closing in, he realized he was in danger of being attacked on two sides and withdrew to a safer position near Asparagium.
Why are you withdrawing? Just do what Caesar did and do the two-wall thing, man. Like, I know that wouldn't make any sense here, but that just went through my mind how you have two people come from each side. Just remind me of that battle. Because that battle was epic. But that would be funny, though. If I just redrew that battle up here and he started building that stuff. Anyways. Oh, I got Pompey on the run.
Being attacked on two sides and withdrew to a safer position near Asparagium. With his full army now joined, Caesar started to take more aggressive actions. Hearing that Scipio was now in Macedonia with his Syrian legions, Caesar sent 2 legions under Gnaeus Domitius Calvinus to cut him off. The Thessalians and Aetolians had sent envoys saying they'd support Caesar in return for garrisons, and so Caesar sent the rookie 27th Legion under Cassius Longinus to Thessaly, and G. Calvisius Sabinus with 5 cohorts to Aetolia to acquire more grain. Scipio did march his force towards Thessaly, threatening Longinus, but Calvinus and his legions were able to apply enough pressure to stop him uniting his force with Pompey. Meanwhile, one of Pompey's sons, Gnaeus, attacked Caesar's ships, destroying his whole navy in the area, leaving Caesar stranded in Greece and cut off from Italy.
Wow.
With his navy destroyed, Caesar knew he had to force an engagement with Pompey soon. He first attempted to do this at Asparagium, drawing up his army for battle. But Pompey, on the high ground, refused to commit. In order to force Pompey's hand, Caesar decided to march on Dyrrhachium. By threatening this crucial supply center, Pompey would be forced to respond. However, he did not want to reveal his plan to Pompey, and so planned on taking a circuitous route to hide his intentions. He struck camp early in the morning in April. The plan worked. Initially, Pompey thought Caesar was withdrawing due to lack of supplies, and it was only after his scouts reported Caesar's movements that Pompey realized what Caesar was planning. He then gave chase. Caesar marched through the night, only giving his men a brief break, and was able to reach Dyrrhachium first, setting up his camp on high ground outside the city.
Nice.
Pompey arrived soon after and encamped his force on high ground just south of Caesar's position.
Wow.
Pompey's army outnumbered Caesar's considerably. Having sent part of his force to occupy Scipio and part to southern Greece, Caesar had just 35 to 40,000 men and 3,000 cavalry. Pompey, on the other hand, had around 53,000 infantry and 7,000 cavalry. Though Caesar's men were more experienced, Pompey did have the crucial advantage of having a better supply line. Using his navy, he could ship supplies from Dyrrhachium to his camp, whereas Caesar would be forced to live off the land and requisition food from local tribes. Even this would be difficult, as Pompey's forces had already plundered the area in the previous months. Noting the particularly hilly topography of the area, Caesar decided to fall back on one of his most favoured tactics and fortify the hills around Pompey's position, encircling his enemy and cutting off their supplies. This would be a difficult task considering the size of the armies, but the natural topography simplified the task. When Pompey realized what Caesar was doing, he countered by constructing his own defenses. He ordered his men to fortify as many hills as possible, forcing Caesar to extend his own fortifications further and further, stretching his army. Frequent skirmishes broke out between the two forces, each harassing the other to try and slow their build. On one occasion, the 9th Legion harassing the other.
Oh. Like, how far is this? Like, this has got to be miles. and they're like building a wall. Or is it a wall or a trench? I guess like a wall with it still blows my mind how back in these times like this kind of stuff is getting done and at the speed it's getting done. That's crazy, man.
Frequent skirmishes broke out between the two forces, each harassing the other to try and slow their build. On one occasion, the 9th Legion, attempting to fortify a camp on a hilltop, came under intense masses of missile fire from the Pompeians on a nearby hill. Caesar, who was with the 9th at the time, ordered them to abandon the construction and retreat down the slope. He also commanded legionary engineers to place wattle screens to dig trenches behind to hinder the enemy from pursuing the legion. He then placed slingers in commanding positions to cover the withdrawal. The 9th was pursued by the Pompeian missiles and light infantry, who pushed the screens into the trenches to cross them. Caesar, fearing a rout, ordered Antony, commander of the 9th, to charge the Pompeians. In a brilliant display of discipline, the 9th immediately turned, flung their javelins, and charged back up the slope.
Wow.
The Pompeians, only being lightly armed, retreated, and the 9th was able to withdraw in good order.
Nice.
Soon after, Caesar's defences were complete. It was now late June. Due to his men's greater experience and discipline, he now had Pompey's force pinned against the sea. This was a great achievement. A smaller, less supplied force had never done this before against superior numbers. Though low on grain, Caesar did manage to level the playing field by having control of all the sources of fresh water in the area. Pompey was now forced to dig wells and rely on supplies from the sea. Furthermore, Caesar could now send his men further afield to gather supplies without fear of harassment. Pompey, however, was a skilled general and had his own strategies to keep Caesar under pressure, sending missile units to harass Caesar's lines at night, targeting the light of their campfires. He also attempted to bring his cavalry into play, which, stuck behind the fortifications, had done little so far. Boarding them onto ships, he sent them up the coast to Dyrrhachium. From here, they would be free from the confines of the fortifications and could forage without putting a burden on Pompey's supplies, as well as attack Caesar's line from the rear.
Wow. So like there hasn't really even been like a battle yet. Like the decisive battle, they're all. It's like we're playing chess here. They're all kind of trying to, to poke at the other one and to make a certain move. So they can just, they can get them. And like no one's biting so far. Everyone's kind of biding their time and just waiting for the right moment. So when's the right moment going to happen? Like who's going to strike first? This is, the build-up's getting pretty intense here.
Supplies, as well as attack Caesar's line from the rear. Around this same time, in early July, Caesar received word that there were citizens of Dyrrhachium who were willing to be bribed and give him the town. Looking to capitalize, Caesar went to the town with a small armed escort, leaving Publius Cornelius Sulla in charge. However, when he reached the outskirts of the city, he was attacked by the Pompeian cavalry, who attempted to surround Caesar, and he only just managed to cut his way out with his men and survive the ambush. While Caesar was away from the main line, Pompey had also launched 3 simultaneous offensives on the fortifications. He ordered 4 legions to concentrate on a point in the center of the line, and 1 legion each to attack 2 other points in the line. The point the 4 legions were attacking was atop a hill and well fortified, but only defended by 500 men of the 6th Legion. The cohort was hard pressed, thousands of missiles being fired into their position, but the men held on doggedly, confident that reinforcements would be arriving soon. They were correct. Quickly as he could, Sulla had marched 2 legions to their relief, and upon seeing this new force, the Pompeians retreated.
Like, check out that discipline right there, man. These guys down here, they're way outnumbered with 500 men, they say. And they said, we trust our leaders. They're going to bring reinforcements in, and it's exactly what's happening. Man, like talk about experience and just the discipline these soldiers had. Man, it's amazing. They're being like missiles fired upon them. Like that's scary. It's scary, and they just hugged their line, man. Like they're in it. They believed in their leader, and and stuff like that is just like just so cool to see, man.
To their relief, and upon seeing this new force, the Pompeians retreated. According to Caesar, every man of this unit suffered some kind of injury. The other 2 attacks had also been repelled, one by 3 cohorts and another by Caesar's German auxiliaries, who sallied out, taking heavy losses. In total, Caesar claimed that the Pompeians lost 2,000 men in these battles, and the Caesarians just 20.
I don't know about that.
It is likely that the citizens of Dyrrhachium were Pompey's agents who had lured Caesar into a trap. Pompey was proving a worthy and cunning enemy, but Caesar's veterans had proved their mettle.
Exactly.
Bolstered by the confidence of their victories, Caesar would march his army out in battle formation to offer battle to Pompey as a sign of strength. Pompey also drew his army up for battle so as not to lose face, but refused to engage. He would need to orchestrate a situation where he would have overwhelming numbers in order to contend with Caesar's veterans.
Smart.
Longinus and Sabinus had been successful in taking Aetolia and had taken all the towns between Epirus and Corinth. They now planned to push past the Isthmus of Corinth and into the Peloponnese, but found their path blocked by a Pompeian force. Nonetheless, their success was crucial in giving Caesar an abundance of supplies from these new Greek territories. With more successes under his belt, Caesar again sent a peace delegation, this time to Scipio, hoping to convince the latter to talk to Pompey. But even though Scipio at first listened with interest, his officers were having none of it. Meanwhile at Dyrrhachium, Caesar fortified the 2 approaches to the town, cutting the Pompeian cavalry in the area off from the supplies there. With the cavalry now unable to sustain themselves, Pompey withdrew them by sea back to his entrenchments. But Pompey's food was still running low, and he knew he would have to soon force a breakout. To try and achieve this, Pompey's men occupied the original fortifications of the 9th, which were between the 2 armies' fortifications, and expanded on them, making a second, larger camp that encompassed the first. He also added a long wall from the camp to a nearby river to secure a water supply. This would act as a forward base from where Pompey could strike. Pompey suddenly had a stroke of luck when 2 Gallic officers who served Caesar during the Gallic Wars deserted. They had detailed intel about Caesar's defences and knew where the weak points were, and they now passed all this information to Pompey.
Damn.
At the southern end of Caesar's defences, where the fortifications met the coast, Caesar's 9th Legion was stationed under Marcellinus. After having been forced to withdraw from their original camp, they had constructed a second camp and fortifications that stretched to the coast. Behind this, they had constructed a second line of defences facing south, preventing Pompey landing troops behind and attacking their rear. To complete the defences, an extra line of defences would need to be made between the 2 walls, linking them together and blocking any attack from the sea. But these defences were incomplete. Pompey formulated his plan. He would attack their inner wall with his legions, landing light infantry and missile troops to the south to attack the outer wall, while even more troops would be landed between the 2 walls. Doing so, he would attack the 9th from 3 sides. This took a lot of careful planning and timing, and he withdrew his legions from the 9th's old fort and behind his own lines to coordinate.
Man, it's like more defects, going to Pompey's army. It's just like this kind of a war. It's just, unless it's a civil war, it just doesn't happen. I mean, I guess the political stuff back and forth, people, I guess, feel guilty, or I don't know, whatever reasons, they decide in the middle of the war to defect to the other side, and it makes a huge difference when you can tell, the side you go to, where the weak spots are. But this seems like such a very complicated plan. I guess we're gonna see, you know, how well the,
the Ninth's old fort and behind his own lines to coordinate. After a couple of days of preparation, he was ready. He moved 60 cohorts of legionaries, around 30,000 men, to attack Caesar's inner fortifications, while the light infantry was moved by boat behind the outer wall. As they began their attack, more men were simultaneously landed at the gap between the entrenchments.
Wow, that's a lot.
There were only 2 cohorts of the 9th present at the time, the rest still being in camp. These 1,000 men now found themselves under furious attack from 3 sides by overwhelming numbers.
Way too many.
Desperately, they tried to form a line and sent word to Marcellinus for help, but the numbers were too much, and the men broke and ran. As they did, they ran into the reinforcing cohorts sent by Marcellinus, causing chaos in the narrow gap between the walls.
Oh, wow.
The Pompeians closed in on Marcellinus's camp, which was now only defended by a couple of cohorts. Luckily, Antony, who was close at hand, managed to organize 6,000 men and came to their aid, stopping the Pompeian advance. He was soon joined by Caesar, alerted by smoke signals, and another 6,500 men. Both forces now had most of their men committed to this part of the line. While Pompey's main force had been pushing into the 9th's camp, more men had already begun construction of a fort outside of Caesar's fortifications to the south. The blockade had been broken. Caesar ordered his men to begin construction of a trench, plugging the gap between the 2 walls. While this was being done, Caesar's scouts spotted a Pompeian legion moving back into the 9th Legion's old fort. If Pompey took this fort, he would be able to make a link between his new fort in the south and his old fortifications. Caesar was determined to stop this from happening. Gathering around 17,000 men and leaving 1,000 to continue entrenching, Caesar took a circuitous route, concealing his force as long as possible, and then launched the attack. His left wing, where Caesar himself was, pushed into the fort, forcing the Pompeian legion back into the inner camp. Caesar's right wing, however, had stumbled across the Pompeian entrenchments that led to the river. Thinking these were part of the fort, they followed them, looking for a gate through. When they reached the river and realized their mistake, they managed to break down points in the defenses, breaking through, followed by the cavalry, but they had wasted precious time.
Wow. Man,
Pompey had seen what was happening and sent all his heavy infantry, 25,000 men, to assist the legion in the fort. The cavalry rode ahead of the legions and fell upon the Caesarian cavalry of the right flank, routing them almost instantly.
Damn.
The infantry around them, seeing their comrades fleeing and Pompey's men closing in, also ran. The narrow passages they had made through the entrenchments became clogged, and some men took to jumping from the ramparts into the ditches to try and escape. Many were trampled to death.
Damn.
Inside the fort itself, Pompey's legion was fighting back with renewed courage. Caesar's left, afraid that they were about to be trapped inside of the narrow confines of the fort, also began to break, retreating through the gate.
Oh.
Caesar tried to stop the rout, grabbing onto fleeing standard bearers and ordering them to stand their ground. One, overcome by panic, even tried to stab Caesar, but he was saved by his bodyguards.
Wow.
Caesar's entire force that had been committed to the attack had retreated, broken. But Pompey, fearing Caesar had laid a trap, did not pursue, and the narrow breaches in the defences stopped his cavalry pursuing further. If he had, he may well have been able to destroy Caesar's army. In total, Caesar gives his dead as being 32 officers, centurions and tribunes, almost 1,000 legionnaires and 200 horsemen. He had also lost many men as prisoners, perhaps as many as 1,000. On the orders of Labienus, all of these men were killed. Pompey was hailed as imperator, but as a sign of respect, refused the symbolic bay leaves that went with the title, due to his victory being over fellow Romans. Caesar, after having committed almost 3 months to the battle, pulled away his full force from Dyrrhachium, defeated.
Wow.
The Pompeians took this as a full retreat, and word was sent to Eastern kings that the war was already won. However, Pompey had failed to strike a killing blow. He had done well to break out of Caesar's encirclement, but had missed the opportunity to use his overwhelming numbers. Caesar was a dangerous enemy and could not be left any space to regroup. Nonetheless, Caesar was able to carry out an ordered withdrawal of his army with only light harassment from Pompey's forces, pulling back to Apollonia. As he did so, he comforted his men, saying that just as Gergovia had preceded Alesia, so too would this defeat at Dyrrhachium be followed by a far greater victory. Once again, shout out to Backblaze for sponsoring this video. Backblaze helps you keep your files safe for just $6 a month, and you can get it via the links in the description. More videos in the series are in the works, so make sure you are subscribed to our channel and have pressed the bell button.
Wow, man. Oh, I want more. Okay, so Caesar lost. Well, hasn't lost per se, but you know, that episode or those battles ended up with Pompey on top. You know, Caesar had to retreat. Pompey's plan, apparently obviously worked, and almost could have like ended the war there. It maybe if other decisions were made, but definitely an exciting series. I mean, like two respected, awesome generals going at it, just facing off, and it was just, they're just trying to outmaneuver each other. It was really awesome just to see like the back and forth, the push and pull going on. I just thought that was really cool, and yeah. What do you guys think of this? Like, things are heating up, man. I hope you guys are enjoying this as I am. Anyways, guys, please hit that like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And fun stuff. Okay, so what we get? What's our next episode called? This was battle. What's the next one? Battle. Versailles, Caesar, Civil War. All it tells me about. Where is it? Where is that? I don't know where that is. But I was obviously wrong as far as Caesar not going to Greece, because then he goes there. So my predictions are horrible. Yeah, but anyways, guys, another great fun episode. Caesar, he lost, but it wasn't like, just this huge decisive loss where he just lost so many men. I mean, he lost a bunch, but it wasn't, his army wasn't crushed or anything. I mean, he just got to regroup and strategize some more, and kind of figure things out. And Caesar, so like Caesar he's gonna win the next battle. You can't afford to lose, and he learns from his mistakes and learns from the previous battle. So I don't. I mean, I thought he was going to win this one, but he's not going to win. He's not going to lose another one. I just don't see that in the cards. But anyways, guys, like I said, hit the like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in future videos. You guys are awesome, and this is a lot of fun. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great night, a great day whenever you're watching this. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace. And